So the first question, when should you train internally versus train externally when you're looking at creating training materials?
Great question. As I've sort of covered in previous interviews, one of the important things that we need to do is create what I call a training needs analysis, and lots of other people call it that as well, which analyses the training that's required and sort of maps that off against the employees who are required to do it. When you're doing this, I like, and it's usually a spreadsheet type document, I like to add additional columns, to sort of look at who is best to do the training, and then another column to give you an idea of what the costs are going to be. And putting those two columns in there will help you be a bit more systematic about working out what's the best option here. I think obviously you want to default to internal training if you can potentially deliver that. And what we're looking at here is the internal trainers need to be able to deliver the content that is at the same or better standard. Now, better standard can be achieved here because sometimes you'll know a lot more about your company than an external trainer will. So things like emergency evacuations and inductions and those sorts of things often are much better run by an internal trainer. Where you might look to go externally is either you don't have the expertise or there's a huge opportunity cost for your internal staff in creating the training material, and a potential cost for not delivering the same quality of training as well. So if you factor in the costs of all that training material creation and delivery, and then map that off against an external trainer, sometimes the external trainer becomes more efficient and delivers as good or better a job. So it's really about really a return on investment here that we're looking at.
Cool, excellent. So the type of training, what's the best type of training to do? You know, obviously there's various methodologies, and it's probably been debated forever, but what's your view on what's the best type of training that will give you the best bang for the buck?
Okay, I can't give you a definitive answer here because it is going to depend on the type of training, of course. Yeah, some training really lends itself nicely to the online environment, and in the world of coronavirus, we're probably going to get a lot better at adapting our trainings into that environment. But really what you're looking at here, when you're looking at what is the best type of training, is outcomes. What are the outcomes you want from your training, and what type of training is best going to deliver that outcome at a cost that's reasonable for your organization. So typically the online environment is cheaper to run. People can sit in front of their own computers and do it, but if it's not achieving the best outcome, then it's not the best type of training for your employees. So you're looking at things like efficiency. Does it create the assessment and competency assurance that you want from your training? And again, good return on investment. So every training that you do is going to cost you money, but good training will actually deliver on that cost and return on your investment.
You mentioned about conducting assessments. What's the best way, in your view, about conducting assessments to say that, the training, has it actually gone in? Is it actually understood by the people? Do they,
again,
what they've learned?
You can't give a definitive answer for all types of training here, obviously, but in general terms, I comment that practical training is definitely best assessed with practical assessments. So if you've got someone where you want someone to be able to perform a skill, a written assessment is just not going to cut it there. So it does need to be practical. Practical assessments also avoid the risk of certain language barriers and other types of barriers becoming the thing that stop them from achieving the results, where they actually may be able to do it, but they just can't say it or just can't write it. So consider practical as your first lines for any skill-based training, for sure. But the other thing to say is that any assessment that you do should be assessed against criteria that is created again from those training aims. So when you set up your training course, or when you engage someone to set up training courses for you, that training's got to have a clear aim of what outcome it wants to achieve for the employee, and your assessments have to link back to those aims. And it might be a practical assessment that checks off certain skills, or it might be a knowledge assessment, but again, that's going to have to check off on what the knowledge requirements that you want to achieve actually are. So that'd be some general things. If you can't do it fully practically, try and show. I often try and show pictures rather than written words. So just maybe good and bad. What's the good one here? What's the bad one? That sort of thing. How does that look to you? That sort of thing, rather than again creating potential language and sort of reading and writing literacy barriers there.
Cool, excellent. Oh, thank you again, Michael, for joining us for a quick discussion about training. It's probably something that most organisations are pretty poor at, from my experience when I go.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think there's just not enough time that goes into just that initial analysis of what we want to do and how we're going to do it. It's oftentimes just rolled out without that small initial consideration, which can make a huge difference in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Oh, thank you very much.